For 4 seasons and 96 episodes, they painted a school bus and convinced America that a family could hold itself together through music alone. But what happened to this cast after the cameras stopped is darker and more human than anything that aired on Friday nights. It is 2026. Some of them are gone. An Oscar winner who played a prostitute, a child star who slept behind dumpsters, a woman who drove home drunk from the most wholesome set on television, and one secret carried until the final hours. Every Friday night, she was the mother America wished it had. Shirley Jones stepped onto that painted bus as Shirley Partridge and made 70 countries believe a widow could hold a family together through music alone. But before that bus, there was an Oscar. She won Best Supporting Actress at the 33rd Academy Awards, not for playing a mother, but for playing Lulu Baines, a vengeful prostitute in Elmer Gantry. The director had fought to keep her out. After her first scene, he called to apologize. Then, the public wanted the good Shirley back, so she became Shirley Partridge instead. What the cameras never showed, her husband Jack Cassidy was unraveling behind closed doors. Bipolar disorder, alcoholism. The year the show ended, neighbors found him standing naked on the front lawn in the middle of the afternoon. Shirley divorced him in '75. On the night of December 11th, 1976, Jack called and asked if she would come over. She said no. That was the last thing she ever said to him. The next morning, he fell asleep with a cigarette. The apartment burned. His body was identified through dental records. She later wrote that she still wanted him back, and had wanted him back on the night she said no. In 2026, Shirley Jones is 92 years old. She is still here, outliving the husband she never stopped loving, and the stepson she watched become the most famous person on that bus. Wisecracking kid, red hair, fast mouth, that was Danny Partridge, the boy America laughed with every Friday night for 4 years. Dante Daniel Bonaduce was 11 years old when the show began. His father, a television writer, beat him regularly at home. Shirley Jones noticed the bruises on set and brought him home more than once to keep him safe. The man who played Reuben Kincaid did the same. 2 adults on a show about a perfect family were quietly sheltering one of its child cast members from his own father. By the time the show ended, Danny was 15, with no career and no savings. By his 20s, he was sleeping in his car behind Hollywood clubs where people still recognized him and asked, "Weren't you Danny Partridge?" 2 drug arrests followed. Then, a violent incident in Phoenix that ended with police finding him hiding naked in a closet. His mother came to see him at a motel somewhere in that stretch. She looked at him and said, "I think you're going to die very soon. I wanted to make sure I told you I loved you before I got that phone call." In 2023, he underwent brain surgery after months of not being able to walk. His first message to fans afterward, "I lived." In 2026, Danny Bonaduce is 65 and retired in Palm Springs. He survived everything the boy on that bus was not supposed to survive. His character hated children. That was the joke. Every episode. Every season. Reuben Kincaid, the put-upon manager who could barely stand the sight of a kid. Dave Madden was nothing like that. Born in Sarnia, Ontario in 1931, he lost his father at age 7 and was sent to live with an aunt and uncle in Indiana. A bicycle accident at 13 left him bedridden for months. That was when he learned magic tricks from books and never stopped performing for the rest of his life. He served in the U.S. Air Force Special Forces. He once performed a magic comedy act in front of King Idris of Libya. A Frank Sinatra recommendation got him onto The Ed Sullivan Show. None of that made him famous. Reuben Kincaid did, what the audience never knew. While Madden played the man who couldn't stand kids, he was quietly taking Danny Bonaduce home, the same boy Shirley Jones was also sheltering, because Danny's father was hurting him. The man who hated children on screen was one of 2 people on that set protecting the most vulnerable child in the cast. Dave Madden died on January 16, 2014, in Jacksonville, Florida. He was 82. The cause was a rare blood disorder called myelodysplastic syndrome. His ashes were scattered in the Atlantic Ocean. Danny Bonaduce later said he owed Dave Madden more than he could explain. She appeared in one episode of The Partridge Family in 1971. One episode. But what happened between her and the show's biggest star, off camera, stayed hidden for decades. Meredith Baxter was 24 when she guest starred alongside David Cassidy. They began dating quietly. 1 month in, the FBI pulled Cassidy into protective custody over a kidnapping threat. By the time he was released, she had already fallen for someone else. Cassidy later wrote that she was the only woman he ever truly loved. "It broke my heart," he said. "She married that other man, David Burney, and stayed for 15 years. What no one on the set of Family Ties knew, while America watched her play Elise Keaton, the warmest mother on television, Meredith Baxter was driving home from the studio each night with a full glass of wine just to get through the front door." Burney was on the other side of it. She wrote later that he hit her before they were even married. She stayed because she had convinced herself she deserved it. On December 2nd, 2009, she sat down with Matt Lauer on the Today Show. 62 years old. 3 marriages. 5 children. "I am a lesbian," she said. It was a later-in-life recognition of that fact. She said it felt like honesty for the first time. On November 18th, 2017, a man with failing liver and kidneys checked into a hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He had been carrying a secret for years. The world was about to find out. David Cassidy, Keith Partridge, the face on more bedroom walls in 1972 than any other human being on Earth. At the height of his fame, his fan club was larger than Elvis and the Beatles combined. He earned $8 million during the run of the Partridge Family. By 1986, he had less than $1,000 left. 3 marriages, multiple DUI arrests, bankruptcy in 2015, and earlier that year, a public announcement that he had dementia. That was a lie. Weeks before he died, he told an A&E producer the truth. "There is no sign of me having dementia at this stage of my life. It was complete alcohol poisoning. The fact is, I lied about my drinking. I did this to myself, to cover up the sadness and the emptiness." He died on November 21st, 2017, 67 years old. His daughter Katie was at his bedside. According to her, his final words were 4 words. "So much wasted time." In 2026, he has been gone for 9 years. The secret he kept until his final hours was not about drinking. It was about a man who spent 40 years performing happiness he had never actually felt. Smart, confident, the girl who always had the right answer. That was Lori Partridge, the one teenage girls across America wanted to be. Susan Halleck Day was 17 when the show began. No acting experience. A model before this, tampon ads, teen magazines. The producers cast her anyway. What no one on set knew, she was surviving on almost nothing but carrots. The anorexia had taken hold quietly, the way it always does. Her body stopped its normal cycles. Her fingers turned orange. The production never said anything. The moment she knew something was wrong came at a cast party, when Danny Bonaduce looked at her in a bikini and said, "What's wrong with you? Your skin is orange. You look disgusting." Not a doctor. Not a producer. Danny Bonaduce at a beach party. And underneath all of it, she was in love with David Cassidy. Had been since the first season. Shirley Jones warned her. He didn't feel the same. After the show ended, they dated briefly, and he ended it. In 1994, he published his memoir and described her feelings in detail. She called it a tremendous, terrible violation. She cut off contact completely. In 2026, Susan Day is 73. She has not acted since 2004. She still hasn't come back. The boy who played drums on the Partridge Family is a direct descendant of Charles Dickens. Fifth generation. He recently used that bloodline to get his first British passport at age 60. Brian Forster replaced Jeremy Gelbwaks as Chris Partridge at the start of Season 2. One audition, 3 seasons. Not one viewer wrote in to complain about the switch. Here's the part that still makes him laugh. Professional drummers have tracked him down for years to say that watching Chris Partridge inspired them to pick up the instrument. He has had to tell every single one of them the same thing. He never actually learned to play. Not one lesson. 3 seasons of network television, and the whole time he was doing exactly what Suzanne Crowe was doing with her tambourine. After the show, he became a science teacher, then a winemaker, then a professional race car driver, winning the San Francisco Regional Championship in 1988. He still races in Sonoma County. In 2026, Brian Forster is 66 years old. He never looked back. That turned out to be the smartest thing anyone on that bus ever did. In the summer of 1971, a 10-year-old boy was quietly removed from one of the most popular shows on American television. No announcement, no farewell episode. The studio said his family had moved. That was not entirely true. Jeremy Gelbwaks had played Chris Partridge for 1 season. Shirley Jones later said he was not happy doing it. His parents wanted him to. So they replaced him. He never acted again. His family moved from California to Virginia, then Connecticut, then upstate New York. He studied chemistry at UC Berkeley, got an MBA from Columbia Business School, spent years in technology consulting at Deloitte and electronic data systems. Then he moved to New Orleans. Today, he co-owns Mid-Citizen Entertainment, a music management company whose artists include Big Freedia and Tank and the Bangas. The boy fired from a music show at 10 now manages some of the most distinctive acts in the American South. In 2026, Jeremy Gelbwaks is 65. He has no social media. He did not want to be famous then. He does not want to be famous now. But not everyone from this cast got to choose their exit. One of them never got the chance at all. If you watched The Partridge Family as a kid, you remember the little girl in the back. Freckled face, tambourine, always smiling. That was Tracy Partridge, the youngest one, the one who never caused any trouble. Suzanne Crowe was 7 years old when the show began. The youngest of 8 children, almost no acting experience, just a Barbie commercial. She appeared in all 96 episodes. She later admitted she was, in her own words, very good at being Milli Vanilli. She never actually learned to play the tambourine. She just watched the beat and moved her hands. When the show ended, she walked away completely. Graduated from college, opened a bookstore in Temecula, California, raised 2 daughters. By 2012, she was managing an Office Max in Bullhead City, Arizona. On a 2010 Today show reunion, she said it simply, "I have 2 daughters, I'm married, I have a normal job." She still kept both tambourines from the show at home. On April 27th, 2015, her husband found her at the dining room table. She had not moved. She was 52 years old. The cause was a rare heart condition that had given no warning at all. That July would have been their 30th wedding anniversary. Danny Bonaduce said afterward, "Everyone thought I'd be the first Partridge to go. Sadly, it was little Tracy. The girl who faked it perfectly on camera had built something completely real off it, and then, without warning, it was gone." The scarecrow, the rubber legs, the straw falling out of his sleeves. Ray Bolger played Shirley Partridge's father in 3 episodes. But long before that bus, he had already done something Hollywood could never take away. In 1939, he played the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. The makeup permanently lined his face. He never received a single dollar in residuals from its broadcasts. Whenever anyone asked, he gave the same answer. "No," he said, "just immortality. I'll settle for that." When Judy Garland died in June of 1969, he was the only Oz co-star who came to her funeral. He stayed until nearly everyone else had gone. He said afterward, "There should be a time in your life when you can go home and forget about show business." Judy Garland never got to that point. Ray Bolger died on January 15th, 1987, 83 years old, married to the same woman for 57 years. He was not the most famous person on that bus. He was just the one who showed up when it mattered. That painted bus is still out there, in museums, in photographs, in opening credits that millions of people can still hum from memory. It looks exactly the same as it did in 1970. The people on it did not. Every person on this cast spent years performing a version of happiness written for them by someone else. Some carried that performance home. Some never figured out how to put it down. The distance between who they were on that bus and who they were everywhere else, that was the real story. It always was. The Partridge family ran for 4 years. The things it cost, the people who made it, ran much longer. Which cast member surprised you most? And did you watch this show growing up? Thank you for watching Golden Star Moments. If you enjoy meaningful moments, inspiring stories, and unforgettable highlights, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. Every subscription motivates us to continue creating and sharing even more quality content with you. We look forward to seeing you in our next amazing journey. Golden Star Moments, where every shining moment becomes a lasting memory.